Okay, referencing. Welcome to this learning resource on referencing. This learning resource is for those of us who have only very recently come across the term referencing. We've been told that we need a reference in our work, in our tutorials or our essays, whatever it is. We don't quite know what it means, and we'd just like a little bit of assistance coming to terms with this concept, getting a grip on it, understanding it. So in this learning resource, I'm going to talk about what referencing is and why we do it. And I'm going to discuss plagiarism. Okay, so what and why? Referencing is a core part of academic writing. It's not something that you can avoid. Academic writing almost by definition uses referencing. So the sooner you come to terms with how to do it and you learn how to do it, the better. When you reference someone else's work, it's a way of joining the academic or the scholarly or the research conversation. You situate your knowledge within existing scholarship and research. So you start to take part in the conversation by speaking to these other authors, by referencing their work. And it's really just about acknowledging what work others have done, work that is of course relevant to your own essay or study or paper or whatever it is. So when you draw on existing literature, existing scholarship, whatever, you are showing that you understand and have a knowledge of the field and the current existing knowledge. So it's a way of saying, I understand this field or this scholarship, and therefore it's a way of saying, look, I can speak to it because I have a sense of it, I grasp it. And you can reference all kinds of things, ideas, theories, facts, data, anything that's sort of like evidence that you're going to use in your essay. You would have to reference that, so long as you aren't the original author of it. So there's different ways to reference. You can use direct quotes, you can paraphrase someone else's own words and sentences, or you can summarize a position or findings or a conclusion or an analysis or something like that. So in the first case, in terms of quoting, you would use the other person's word, and in paraphrasing and summarizing, you would use your own words. But you would reference in all cases. It's many different things you can reference. These are just some examples, and it's really any type of evidence you draw on. So books, journal articles, speeches, reports, websites, images, maps, letters, magazines, data sets, documentaries, films, whatever. Anything you're going to draw on. It could be newspapers, myriad other things. So there's two main parts to a reference. So the one part is that component that goes in the text, right? So when you draw on someone's work or you quote them, under some conventions you will immediately afterwards put brackets in, and then you'll put the author's name and the date, and depending on the convention, the page number. So that's an in-text reference that goes in brackets. So that's like American Psychological Association and the Harvard referencing system. These use in-text brackets. And then there are also footnotes. So let's say you quote someone, then you would put your little footnote numbers at the end of the quote, and then at the bottom of the page, i.e. the foot of the page, you'd have your footnote. And the footnote would contain the reference. So if it was a book, you would have the book title, the author's name, date of publication, and the page number. And the footnote method is part of the Chicago Style of Manual, Chicago Manual of Style referencing convention. And then the last one is endnotes. Very similar to footnotes, except that the endnotes go at the end of the document rather than at the foot of the page. So those are reference. So that one part of a reference goes in the text, either in the sentence in brackets, or at the foot of the page, or in a list at the end of the document. And then the other part of that same reference is the bibliography, or sometimes called a reference list or a citations list, and this is the full reference in alphabetized fashion at the end of your document, so that your readers can look at your references and see exactly who you've cited, what literature you've looked at, etc. So one of the main reasons that one references is to avoid this very nasty, terrible thing called plagiarism. So when you don't acknowledge your sources, let's say you use a map, or you use an image, or you use a newspaper, or anything, draw on any type of evidence, and you don't acknowledge the author of that evidence, it comes off as if you're stealing or cheating that person's work, as if you're passing it off as your own. And the consequences for this are kind of serious. So you can, if you cheat in a thesis, or you plagiarize in a thesis, that thesis can be taken away from you, and then your degree can be taken away from you, or you can get blacklisted from your university. So it's kind of serious, but referencing is really easy. And so I would encourage you not to stress about it. It's very easy to learn, and it just takes a little bit of practice in the beginning, and then after a little while you get it, and it's really not something to stress about. Alright, thanks for watching, and good luck with your essays.